Welcome to the Millennial Body Image Project, where we dive into the unique and messy body image journey that continues to shape our generation.
We're here to flip the script on toxic wellness culture, challenge weight stigma, and tackle the intersectional forces that shape how we see our bodies and our health.
Because your body is not a problem to be fixed.
Take it away.
Take it away.
Welcome back to our semi-annual.
It's every 6
Semi-annual.
months.
Semi-annual books episode. Today is just me and Kara, and we wanted to do something a little bit different today. So instead of just going through, here are the best books that we've read so far this year, which we'll obviously talk about at the end of the year, we wanted to talk about, since the world is on fire and news is all consuming and it's just a shit show out here, if you want to get lost in reading, we have a bunch of recommendations for this. But actually, I would love to know, Kara, how has your reading year in general gone so far?
Great. I have
Better
DNF'd.
than last year?
Okay, excellent question. A lot of this vibes that were going on, and I bet a lot of listeners feel the exact same. So last year, my reading year was pretty dismal. Just read a lot of duds that I was very excited about that were disappointments. But more so, it was just my own life. I couldn't give the mental capacity to read high fantasy, which is my typical go-to, because I was planning a wedding and my husband had started a new job and it was the busiest year ever, work-wise. And so I was just dealing with a lot of shit. And it got to the point where all I could read was just straight smut. We are talking just basic porn, zero plot. And it's the same this year. As you said, the world is burning. So a lot of my recommendations today are just if you feel every single time you lay in bed to read your book and you just physically can't, even though you found half an hour to read, lower the bar and don't feel guilty about it. This might not be your high fantasy time. You might need something that's just easier and stop worrying about it. It's just something that's lowering the bar enough to hold your concentration. So that's kind of where I'm at. So yeah. What about you?
Mine's gone way better this year than
Okay.
the last 2 years so far. I've definitely had some great books in there, especially in January. I read some great books in January. And then it's I take a dip for a couple of months and then I go back up. But yeah, I will mention some of those, which I'm sure some of them I will also be mentioning in the end of the year. But spoiler alert, I'm not going to tell you guys which are my best books of the year so far. So you have to wait for that. But so, okay, we have 3 categories today of books that we want to talk about. I don't have any nonfiction books to mention. Do you?
No, of course I don't.
Okay. Yeah. So to clarify, this is not going to be about if you want a deeper history of all these different things that are a shit show in the world going on right now, this is not that.
Who wants to read that in 2025?
Well, that's the thing. It's those books are also so important, right? But that is not the purpose of this episode. The first category that I wanted to talk about is read this because they don't want you to, aka, wow, this feels really relevant to the current state of the world. But again, this is fiction, taking themes from, let's say, oppressive governments, marginalized communities, history, racism, other reason that books are getting banned, which I want to talk about banned books in a second too. Then we have Take Me Away, that Natasha Bedingfield song, which is just books to get lost in and let the world fall away. And then the last one is just feel good, comforting reads, or I just need some happiness in my life. So we're going to go through all 3 of those. But yeah, a word about banned books. So if you guys want to learn more about banned books, because I've talked about this before, every year I've been volunteering at my high school book sale. In the last couple of years, we've been doing a banned books table, which is not we're getting rid of these books. This is bring more awareness to banned books and why they are being banned. And really, it's a lot of the themes that I mentioned. It's about oppressive governments, it's marginalized communities, it's lived experience, it's racism, slavery, discrimination, themes about LGBTQ, different marginalized communities. And you would be shocked to know, I'll leave a couple of resources for the American Library Association and PEN America, which does a lot of education around banned books and tracking banned books. And apparently last year in the 2023 to 2024 school year, there were over 10,000 books challenges in schools and libraries. The crazy thing is, if you had a school reading list when you were in high school, at minimum, 3/4 of those books are on the banned book list. So you're talking about 1984, Catcher in the Rye, Jane Eyre, The Handmaid's Tale, like all of these books that you would consider to be classic, especially like high school reading and like American literature, they're all banned now. So if you want more information about that, or if you want to learn more about banned books or like read more banned books, we're going to mention some of them today in our list. But if you want more resources on that, I highly recommend, and I will put those in the description too.
I will also add to that. So nothing on my list. I didn't look up to see whether it was banned or not, but I was born, raised, went to college in Iowa, which unfortunately has become
Second highest.
Yes, second highest. The governor, Kim Reynolds, is really big into banning books, and it was hilarious because they banned the fourth Twilight book.
Yeah, ACOTAR is
Because
getting banned now too.
They passed a law that any book portraying any mention of sexual activity was banned from school libraries, including fade to black scenes or just like the mention of it. So even though like in the fourth Twilight book, they are married, they are on their honeymoon, and it is like set like a fade to black scene that they have sex, got banned.
Yep. Yeah, I found PEN America actually has, which is pen.org, pen.org. They have a list of 2023, 2024 book bans by state. Florida is the highest. No one is shocked. They have between 4,000 and 5,000 bans. Iowa's number 2 between 3 and 4,000.
I'm 0% surprised.
Yeah. But yeah, okay, so let's get into the first category. Read this because they don't want you to.
Okay, take it away.
Okay, the first one, which I think you're going to have an opinion on this, not about my recommendation, but about the series in general, is The Hunger Games.
Oh my God.
If you have not read the new Hunger Games book, you got to read it. Suzanne Collins only writes a book when she has something to say. And the first page of this, we haven't even gotten to chapter 1 yet. She typically will put a couple of different quotes in the beginning of the book. I don't remember where they're from. I could pull them. But basically, she's talking about how oppressive governments will use tools of propaganda to get people to believe whatever they want. And it's like, whoa, this just came out in March 2025. And yeah, I highly recommend reading the Hunger Games series, even if you don't think it's the best series of all time. I don't, but I had a fantastic time reading the new book. But it's just, there are really important themes in there for what is going on in our world right now. So that would be my first one.
Amazing. Okay. So my take on this category, again, I do not know if any of these are banned, but
Hunger Games is banned, by the way.
Oh, insane.
Yeah.
Hilarious. So I kind of took it as they do not want you to read this because of feminists. So everyone, I think, loves a morally gray male character, but I so get up when there is a morally gray female character. I love that shit. I want her to be the villain, the assassin. Her kill roster is a mile long. I love that shit. So the first one that I'm going to say is Daughter of the Pirate King. Absolutely love this book. It's also such an easy read. Oh my God. Essentially, this woman, she's, as the title says, the daughter of the Pirate King. She arranges her own kidnapping. And this is chapter 1 of the book, so I'm not really giving away any spoilers, in order to get taken by a competitor of her father's. Super badass female. Like, I love that shit. And it's only a duology. There is a new, a generation book. I don't know, like the daughter, I assume it's like the Daughter of the Pirate Queen, just came out. I have not read it, but it's definitely on the list this year.
Yeah, that was such a fun. I blew through that book. I think
It's so much fun. It's so much fun.
Yeah, it was a good time. You just fly through that. Different vibe a little bit. This one, if you have never read 1984 or you want a different take on 1984, similar themes, I recommend The Memory Police by Yoko Ogawa. So this is basically where is it dystopian anymore? But in a dystopian society, there is this police force where every once in a while they decide that there is an item or if there is something that they don't want to be a part of our world anymore. So say it was like a sink or something like that. The memory police in en masse will go to every single citizen and person's house, take away the sink. They erase every single mention of sink from any book, any newspaper, anywhere, and eventually people just forget about it. And there's a little bit of a magical realism piece to this, but it talks about books. It talks about like what is your place in society? Like, is there a way to resist against this? And I don't think this is a perfect book. Quite frankly, I was like a little bit bored in the second half of it, but the concept of this is really, really interesting. So that I do recommend.
Amazing. Okay. So in the spirit of making the world burn, I think people are going to be surprised by this because of why it's usually recommended, is the Shatter Me series by Tahira Mafi. Okay, most people read this, I think, for the love triangle and just like for the YA romance in general. But it's 6 books. It was like 3 original books, so an original trilogy. And I think honestly, after that trilogy, there was like a 3 or 4 year gap. And then the author added to it and wrote an additional 3 books. I read this series a couple years ago and it's such a long, like 6 books is like a big mental ask. So I definitely had to take a break between those. But the more you read, the more it goes from just being like a simple YA like romance to a very like overthrowing the government, especially like more bringing in like young leaders and throwing away like essentially their parents who has like ruled in this mythical land forever. The first book I would almost feels like a prequel. So keep that in mind. If you are reading this book and you're very wishy-washy about it, just like I cannot tell you enough, hold on. Because and also avoid the internet, avoid the spoilers because I was shocked on book 2 how things switched so fast. So just hang on and treat book 1 like a prequel.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I have Tahira Mafi on my list for something else later. So,
Well, shut
easier.
up. You're not going to do what I think you're going to do, are you?
I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
Okay, great.
Okay, the next one that I have is you need to read this book. Everybody needs to read this book. Okay. This is Blood Over Brighthaven by M.L. Wong.
Oh, yeah. I've heard.
I mentioned this.
Things.
I had only heard phenomenal things too. I actually put this, here's a teaser for the end of the year. I put this on my list this year of like, these are the 3 books that I really want to read this year. I did read this. I read it in January. You need to read this book in the spirit of this is an oppressive system and I just want to burn this to the ground. Oh my God, you have to read this book. The other thing about this is, speaking of morally gray, unlikable main character, this one is it because you're going along with this one's name is Sayana. She's the first female mage ever in this very patriarchal society. And she's been clawing her way into this magical school, basically. She wants to join this society of mages, but they only let one woman every 10 years take the test. And they're basically all destined to fail, right? So she has someone vouch for her. And so you see her taking the test in order to get into this school. One, learning about the magic of this place was crazy. Learning where the magic is, like what the magic really is and where it's sourced for in this book. The terror that I went through reading that, but then also the reason I say, you're like, why wouldn't we root for this character? So there's a marginalized group of people, which are effectively the indigenous people in this world. And the people who are the mages in this society, or like the people who are from the city, are extremely racist against these indigenous people. And these indigenous people are trying to escape this thing called the blight, which seems like this otherworldly thing that is coming to kill all of them, which seems like very random. There's no pattern to it, whatever. And so you see Sayana interacting with these people and one who becomes her assistant. And the way that she is just like saying these things to her assistant that are just like accepting this racism that she has heard as dogma, you're like, do you hear what you are saying, girl? And she's like, no, that's just the way it is. And you're like, what? So it's a very interesting experience of like, you're kind of rooting for this person, but they've also grown up in this society, which just their beliefs that they have, they're just a total fucking asshole. But you see the society that they're raised in. And so like, you get so mad at her, but you're also kind of rooting for her at the time. The conclusion of this book, I finished the book, I closed the book, and I just like sat there in shock staring at the wall for like 5 minutes. So this is a good one.
Yeah, it's on my list for sure. Okay, next for like burning to the ground, and it's like the same, maybe the kind of same vibe, or maybe I just interpreted what you said wrong. But in this book, I genuinely weren't entirely sure who was the good guys. Okay, and so I'm talking about the Prison Healer series by Lynette Noni. I think I recommended this when we did like our all-time favorite list. I still think about this series. And what I appreciate about the series is so often when you're in the midst of a series that is not completed, like when you have to wait a year between books or something, I have found that I have been like disappointed by book 3 or the conclusion of the series. And I don't know why. I'm not sure if just the time between books was like a letdown, or like I forgot about the small parts, or like the author just like wrote themselves into a corner. I don't know. But like the Prison Healer series, I am talking like 3 dynamite books just back to back. So general synopsis, a girl, she is 7 years old. She's out with her dad. Her dad gets arrested, and because she is there, they arrest her too. And then 1 year into being in prison, the dad dies and she's just left there. And it's all about like her family is still on the outside trying to get her out. But honestly, inside, she's just trying to like survive day by day. So you could kind of like relate it to like right now how like the world is burning like around you. But at the same time, like every single day, you got to wake up and you got to have dinner on the table and you got to make a living. And so like sometimes it sucks, but you got to shut off the news and just like go into like survival mode. And again, there's so many players in this book. I like sometimes I'm like rooting, like I think they're the bad guys, but I'm also like rooting for them and I like them better. And also at the end of book 1, the cliffhanger of book 1, and thank God, again, you don't have to worry about like it not being completed. It's a completed series. Book 1, I was so blown by the switch that author pulled at the end. That was something I never saw coming. And to this day, I always tell people I literally had to reread the page. Because I was like, no way did she like just do that. And sure enough, like it was like something that like people like, oh my God, I totally knew how that was gonna end. No, I did not know how this book was gonna. So like definitely recommend. One of my all-time recs, to be honest.
Yeah. The next one I'm going to recommend is called Where They Burn Books, They Also Burn People. So
Sure, that's the title. What a
Yeah.
fantastic title.
I know. So this one, it obviously would be banned. It's an indie book, but it is so good. So it talks about in pre-colonial like Mayan civilization, when the Spanish are coming over, they're trying to spread Catholicism, right? So Friar Diego de Luna comes over to the Mayan peoples, trying to colonize them, proselytize Christianity, everything. And it's a story of how the colonial empires basically rewrote history by burning all of these people's books and all of their texts. And there are only 5 texts left. And so it talks about, there's actually 2 timelines. So it's way back then, and then there's like a 2010 timeline as well. And so you're seeing like how this has huge ramifications over the years. And so it's a historical fantasy. It's inspired by real events, but obviously it's a fantasy book. So there are things have been changed and stuff, but highly recommend.
Amazing. Okay. So this one, again, I said it was an obvious one, so don't come at me. And don't worry, it's not like a Sarah J. Maas like book or whatever. But I'm gonna throw it in there. Okay. So From Blood and Ash. Okay. I have felt so conflicted about this as the years go by. This is still like being written. And just general disclaimer. The author should have just like written a trilogy and been done with it and like taken the W. Okay. That's my general advice on this. Like she should have just stopped. And
I've heard it's really going downhill.
It's just getting a little weird. Like she keeps like inventing new magic pretty much like every single book. One of my old roommates was like, hey, Blood and Ash has been on my shelf forever. I've never read it. Is it worth it? I was like, you know what? That book is absolutely fucking worth it, especially the first one. The first and the second books were so awesome. You will have such a fun time. Book 3, I would even like throw in there is like still pretty good, and then just like call it a
Stop.
day. It's not worth it to like keep reading kind of thing. But yeah, such a great time.
Oh, man. Yeah, I read the first one. It was fun. I mean, there were definitely parts of it, and I was like, ew, what? But that was on purpose.
Yeah,
By the
it's like intentionally creepy, right?
Oh, yeah, God. I remember listening to the audiobook for that.
Oh,
I was in the car, and I was like, no, no, no.
yeah, I don't think that I could ever listen to a smutty audiobook. I think I'd
Oh,
be like,
no.
and I read that shit all the time.
No, I
But
fast forward through that
audiobook,
part.
I think I would feel like uncomfortable.
Well, yeah, because in your car, you're like, can anyone hear this
Yeah.
outside of my car?
Yes, like you fill up with gas and everyone hears. Just damn, he's having a good day.
Okay, I have one more recommendation that I'll talk about, and then I have a couple more that I'll just put in the show notes. Oh, forgot to mention this. Don't worry if you forget everything that we say, or if you can't remember authors or how to spell things or whatever. Everything will be linked in the show notes, so don't worry about that. Okay, the last one I have not read, but I have only heard phenomenal things about, and it is very apt for this category, and it's called Babel by R.F. Kuang. This came out a couple years ago, and it's again a historical fantasy, so it's based on historical events, but the general theme is how the victors of history get to decide what is said about what happened. And so basically, this takes place in Oxford, England, at the Tower of Babel, and immigrant children are picked up from across the world and taken to England because the way that you create magic in this world is through translation. So there's apparently like a bunch of footnotes in this book about actual historical events and other stuff. But again, it's like a magically inspired historical retelling. And I've read every other one of R.F. Kuang's books so far, and her writing is so good. She's the one who wrote The Poppy War and Yellowface. And she has another one coming out this summer that's called Catabasis, I think, or Catabasis. And it's like a Greek myth retelling or something. I'll read anything she writes. But yeah, I'm really excited to read that one. I have it on my shelf, but I haven't read it yet, but I definitely think it fit for this category. Okay.
What's
Yeah.
our second category? I already forgot.
The second category is Natasha Bedingfield. No, it's fantasy worlds to get lost in.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, my list is
Yeah.
much shorter for this one.
Me too.
Okay. All right. Do you want to start or should I start?
Sure, I'll start because I already gave a teaser for this one. Okay. This is the one where you were like, are you going to do that?
Okay. All right. Go for
Or
it.
do we have the same one?
I doubt it. Here, say
Okay.
it.
This Woven Kingdom by Tahira
Oh
Mafi.
my God. Okay. The first two books are okay, but okay.
So but in terms of being swept away in the world, this is a phenomenal one. This Woven Kingdom by Tahira Mafi is like a Persian inspired fantasy. Her writing is beautiful. You can hear it in Shatter Me or read it in Shatter Me. But just the way that she writes, at least for me, I can see exactly what is happening, kind of like unfolding in my brain. Just like the descriptions that she has, the magical world is so interesting. And the story takes really interesting twists and turns that you don't know where it's going. And from what Kara has said, Tahira Mafi has this habit of like the middle of the books in her series, you're kind of like, okay, we're just hanging out with the characters, but what is happening here? To be honest, I didn't even care. I was so frustrated that the plot wasn't advancing, specifically in book 3. Book 4 is coming out later this year. But I kept turning the pages because I was like, what is going to happen next? I have to know. And I was so immersed in the world that everything else just fell away.
I will say, since I've kind of shit on this book, the first book I actually recommended to Dana. I was like, this is awesome. I loved it.
Well,
Okay.
the second book
and then
is great.
The second book literally takes place over 24 hours or like 36 hours, maybe. And my Goodreads review, I was like, absolutely nothing happens in this book, and I am fine with it. Like it's like there was zero plot. Like two people meet each other, and I don't know. Again, the author does have a talent of descriptions and just between characters, because I cannot believe that I got through that. It was like third book that I lost my patience. I was
Yeah.
like, oh,
Here's the thing is like, I think we also had a vastly different experience because you read the first 2 books and then you waited a year for the 3rd book
yeah,
to come out. I read them back to back to back. And
yeah,
that
it would have
was
definitely changed things.
phenomenal. Like, I'm talking, I finished one day when we were in the car on a road trip, and then I read the next one the next day when we were in the car. And I
They're
never do that.
for even being able to like read in a car. Oh, I can't.
Oh, yeah, I definitely can. I'm very lucky there. Okay, you go next.
Okay. I'm gonna like quickly say one and not talk about it because I can't talk about this book one more time. You'll kill me. But my
Ridge
all-time
Kingdom?
okay, that was like also on my like list. I'm not gonna talk about the Rich Kingdom. Okay, no, it's Caraval. Okay.
Okay.
That's like my favorite book of all time. It's a wonderful, it's the most magical book to get lost in, but I'm not gonna talk about it because I've already dedicated like hours of this podcast to this book. So I'm gonna out. And I'm gonna go for one that Dana did not like. This book is openly not for everyone. It's Deadly Education, and I'm forgetting the author's name. Deadly.
Amy Novik.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm throwing this in. Okay. So the reason I say it's not for everyone is because if you're like a big dialogue person, which by the way, I actually am, her dialogue is good, but there's just not much of it. It's a lot more like description and also just like you get lost in the conscious like streamline of thought of the main character. However, the reason I say like just like lost in this world is it truly is one of the most unique magic systems and magic schools that I have ever come across. So essentially this in this world, witches and wizards or like whoever controls magic, there's a 25% survival rate for these people making it out of adolescence. So all the parents come together and they basically say, how are we going to make our kids stop dying? And they create this magical school in the total, like basically it sounds like the school exists in a total abyss, like basically a black hole in the world where then the school exists. However, the school keeps breaking. And every time the school breaks, all these monsters try to come in and like eat the children. There's no teachers there. The students teach themselves. And it's just like basically about their survival. The heroine is morally gray. Sure, her affinity is mass destruction. So like her best spell known to man is for a super volcano or something like that. And she's a total bitch. And essentially what you would expect, like the quarterback, total like blue-eyed, like wonderful guy, her and this total bitch kind of develop a relationship. So I thought it was like very fun. It definitely was a harder read in the sense that it took me a while to understand the magic system. But once I was sold on it, I loved this series.
Yeah, the thing that frustrated me about that series is the premise is so cool, but I think I just could not get used to the writing style specifically in that book. It drove me crazy. So that was
Which
just me
is
though.
No, it's fair. And honest to God, everyone on Goodreads, that's pretty much if someone's dissing this book, they're like, hey, the plot is awesome. I just can't get behind this writing style. So I've said that disclaimer, but it's definitely worth a try because it's so interesting.
Yeah, that was super interesting. Okay, speaking of another really interesting, just duology, actually, with beautiful writing, I would say Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I think I mentioned this a couple of years ago, but this I listened to as an audiobook and then I also was reading it physically. But Laini Taylor, I had read one of her other young adult series before, which is Daughter of Smoke and Bone. Which I liked that. That's also a really cool, like completely different world. You will definitely get lost in that, but it's YA, right? So it like falls to the YA tropes of she's not like other girls. She's got blue hair. Also, she's part something else. And then she falls in love with this angel or something else like that. But it was a great time. I did not mind that at all. So this other duology, Strange the Dreamer, is unlike anything I had ever read before. So basically this person named Laszlo Strange he's like a library monk and he always dreams and has started reading about this place called the Lost City of Weep. Nobody talks about it anymore. It's like lost to the text. He's only found like very small parts of it and he's like constantly trying to learn more about it. And then at one point, he gets this opportunity to go to this lost city of Weep. And he was like, oh my gosh, yes, I will definitely go there. What you find when you get to this place, or he even along the journey when he gets there, it honestly, when I was picturing what was happening, it was like being in a dream. It was just such a great time. And this is not one of those books where there's no plot. Like, there's definitely a plot and you're like uncovering different things. The way that this book ends was another one where I closed the book and I was like, there's no way that the author just did that. Like, what? Now, disclaimer, similar to how Kara just gave one, I did not like the second book in this duology, which was really unfortunate because it was like a really weird genre bending that took more of like a sci-fi angle. And what I just described is pretty much straight up fantasy, right? But there was this weird sci-fi angle that I did not like at all, and I didn't think it made sense. And when you start off the second book, you're just following these characters that seem to have no connection whatsoever to what was going on in the previous book, and it was just such a tonal shift. So I would definitely read the first one. Given the end of the first book, you will want to read the second book to know what happens, but know that the first book is vastly superior to the second. But it's only a duology and it's completed.
Fair. Okay, next world to get lost in for me, I'm going to throw, which I almost could put in like the feel-good bucket, is Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie, I'm going to butcher her last name, Maniscalco, something like that. I have no idea. Okay, so essentially in this world, witches are suddenly being butchered and they're being found dead with their hearts ripped out. The book starts out a couple chapters in, essentially the witch's, her sister dies in this manner, and she has to team up with one of the princes of hell in order to solve her sister's murder. It is a super good time. Like, I read this book so fast and I still think about it. Like, I loved, again, because he's essentially, I mean, he's a prince of hell. And in this particular world, there's 7 princes and they're all Satan. Okay. None of them are good people. All right. They're all great. This particular prince of hell, he's the prince of wrath. And then his quote unquote brothers are, say, like the prince of envy, the prince of gluttony, like all these things. The reason I say that you can get lost in this book is you have this completed trilogy of this main witch and Prince Wrath. But then now and that was a YA series. Now the author is writing a standalone adult fantasy of every single prince. So I had it on my shelf. Okay, so the Throne of the Fallen is about Prince Envy, who I found like very intrigued in the first like trilogy. I also think Prince Gluttony maybe has his book out. These are smutty books, like they are adult fantasy. There is a Prince of Lust, and I do not know what this author is going to write when she gets to Prince Lust. Like, that is going to be a very interesting book because, again, like, this is spicy compared to like the first original trilogy, obviously. So yeah, when she gets to Lust, I'm definitely putting that on my TBR. It's
You're
going
like,
to be a
yes,
wild ride.
please.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't have anything like that on mine.
No.
Okay, I'm then going to recommend an Ember in the Ashes series for another one that you can get lost in. I love this series so much. So this is a completed quartet of books. So there are 4 of them. She's now writing a new series that's a little bit of a spin-off from an Ember in the Ashes. The first one is called Air. Do not go read Air without reading an Ember in the Ashes, because I've heard that it won't make as much sense because most of the world building and the character relationships and everything is done in the first series. But this is a martial-inspired fantasy that also takes place ambiguously in the Middle East, I think. And again, extremely descriptive writing. You can see exactly what is happening. And in the first book, the two main characters are Elias, who is a soldier at this martial academy, whose grandfather is like the head of the military arm of the realm, I think. And he's become very disillusioned with the system, but he's like still kind of a cog in the wheel. And then you're following this other girl, Laya, who is from this society of scholars, basically, who are an oppressed people. Something happens very intensely in the first couple of pages, I think, or chapters of the book. Something happens with her family, and she gets taken and becomes a part of the rebellion. And so she's trying to like infiltrate this martial academy and kind of take it down from the inside with a part of this rebellion. And that's just the first book. So if you really like a magic school, if you like a trials element, if you like some kind of forbidden romance, then you'll definitely love the first book. I have read the first book twice, 5 stars both times. The other books expand the world so much. So in a sense, it's like a classic YA fantasy trope of you have this narrow scope that you didn't even realize was narrow for the first book, and then it just expands and expands and expands. And the thing that I found so interesting about this book is each book you get at least one additional POV from a different character. And some of these characters you do not like. Like you get a POV from the villains in this series, which I thought was so cool. And once you get to the later books in this series, if you can get the audiobook, please do, because the voice actors who they have do the villains are so good in this series. Oh my God. And there's so many different layers of magic and forbidden romance. And then there's kind of like a little bit of a love triangle or two love triangles at one point, I think. And Saba Tahir does not pull her punches. Like I have seen reviews on these books that like she must hate her characters because she's not afraid to kill anyone, really. And oh my God, I love this series so much. But you just get so lost in it. Oh, such a great
I
time.
love it. Honestly, okay, so I've read books, I think 1 and 2, and I
Mhm.
think I stopped on a DNF'd book 3, and I really like, and it's not like I DNF'd because I didn't like it. I just DNF'd because it was like too heavy for me at the time, and I never went back and read it. And now maybe you're just gonna have to like tell me what happens in books 1 and 2 because I don't think I have it in me to like reread those. But I do want to like the series actually.
And that's kind of the point of this episode too, is just realizing like if you are at a point in your life, which a lot of us are, where it's like, I can't do stressful books right now. Like I really have to just alternate. I've been rereading the Red Queen series this year. And I've read the first 3 books in that series. I'm rereading the series because I started it literally 10 years ago and then I never read the 4th book. Who knows why? But clearly I didn't remember shit about what happened in that series. So I've been rereading it. Even knowing what happens, those books are so stressful for me right now. I have to take breaks in between. I have to read like Hallmarky romances, cozy fantasies, and we're going to get into those next. But like the world is so heavy right now. Sometimes you just need like a no thoughts, head empty read, and that is fine. We're reading for enjoyment here.
Totally. And what you just said, that's actually like, I did not talk about this at the beginning, but I have reread more books in 2025 than I think like any other year. And that's why I don't have like a lot of new things to talk about because I've been rereading series and I'm not like, it is a psychological phenomenon. There's a reason why people like rewatch Friends or How I Met Your Mother or New Girl, like all these like feel good shows a billion times because it's like very comforting. And I was like, oh, I just think I'm so stressed out by like the
Life.
world that I'm like rereading series.
I think they call it neural nostalgia.
Okay, well then I totally have that, like
Yeah.
by a billion. All right, the last one I have for this category is a standalone fantasy, which Dana and I said a million times over. Standalone fantasy is just like not a thing usually, and sometimes it hits, and sometimes it's just like such a flop. Like you just needed more. This one was a hit. It's To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo. And also, I will say that while this is a standalone, she does a lot of the same themes. So if you like this book, you could just like read a lot more of this author. So she does a lot of fantasy retellings. So To Kill a Kingdom is actually, it was very obvious right from like chapter 1. I was like, is this a Little Mermaid retelling? Yep, sure is. Okay. The Little Mermaid is a siren and she captures sailors and eats their hearts. It's pretty awesome. Like, it's, like, pretty freaking awesome, and I will say, again, I am so tired of these 1,000-page fantasies, which I've ranted about before. This is, like, a solid, like, 300-page book, and it was awesome. I read it in 2 days, and it had me in a chokehold the entire time.
Yeah. That was the thing about Blood Over Brighthaven is it's a fantasy standalone. It's like just over 400 pages.
Amazing, amazing.
That is like
Bravo.
unheard of.
Way to know when to stop.
It was perfect. No notes. Oh my God. Okay. Speaking of no notes, let's go to No Thoughts Head Empty slash just feel good, comforting read. And disclaimer, this is not to knock any of these books.
No, they're great.
We obviously loved all of these books and or they did exactly what they needed to do in the moment.
Okay, I will start with I need to. Okay, so this is an indie author. Okay, by C.N. Crawford. This is actually one of my favorite indie authors. She writes a ton of like fantasy smutty books, which is like totally my vibe. One of her trilogies I'm not going to mention today because it's going to be one of my favorite books of the year that I'm going to mention in December. But her City of Thorns series was how I discovered this author. And essentially, it's a trilogy where you have this demon who absolutely hates the main character. Like, chapter 1 tries to kill her. However, who he thinks she is, she's not actually that person. She happens to be a doppelganger of a sex demon. What are they called? Like incubus? Oh, yeah, she's an she is the doppelganger of an incubus. And so like the first book is just like you genuinely do not know. I read the entire book and I had no idea if she actually was just like an innocent bystander and just happened to be born looking like this person. And if she was, why was she born as a doppelganger? Or maybe she actually is this demon and she had her memories wiped. And neither of them know. Like, even the main character is like, I don't know, maybe I was this person. Like, she seems a lot like. It's dirty. It's awesome. I had such a good time. And I will say, this is one of the very rare indie series that I have reread. And it's just like so easy. So if you like fantasy, but you don't have it in you, if you don't have the mental concentration for like a high fantasy book, I recommend this. It's a good, simple time.
Speaking of good, simple time. Tommy. A good, simple time. I have a cozy fantasy recommendation for Legends and Lattes. I'm sure a lot of people have heard about this book before, but truly, if you want to be in a fantasy world, but you're too stressed for high stakes, this is a great recommendation. This is about an orc who her name is Viv, and she was a mercenary. So she like used to fight and be a sword for hire. And she decides, nope, I'm done. I want to open a coffee shop. So in her fantasy world, no one knows what coffee is. So she's opening this coffee shop and you see it's just like really funny because people are like, oh, like brown dirt juice. Like, why would you want to drink that? And there's descriptions of the different pastries and there's a found family element and it's very slow. This audiobook is also great, highly recommend. But if you just want something like chill, and it's not like there are no stakes, but if you just want like a very cozy, good time, this actually would be a fantastic recommendation for the fall. So maybe not a summer reading recommendation, but if you're looking to get cozy in the fall with some coffee or a nice warm drink under a blanket or something, this is a great one.
Love it. That actually has been on my TBR for years. I need to just like bite the bullet because it would be the perfect time to read it. Okay, so my next one, I am recommending this because I cannot recommend Friar You or the Off-Campus series one more time on this podcast. So I love the Off-Campus series. I don't need to like go back and forth about it. It has made me read so many hockey romances on KU. So one that I recommend, a lot of them are just like too fluffy for me even. But Icebreaker by Hannah Grace was awesome. okay, so you have a figure skater who is pretty much a bitch. Like the first third of the book, I was like, I hate this main character. She is a piece of work. Oh my goodness. Like she needs to like eat a donut and chill. And a hockey player. And it was such a good time. Like the dialogue was fantastic. The side characters, I think that's why I'm like drawn to hockey romances. You always have a team element, and the side characters always end up being fantastic. So highly recommend.
Speaking of also not approved for kids, is I read earlier this year a rom-com that's called First Time Caller by B.K. Borison. I highly recommend. It was a great time. It is about a radio host in Baltimore, actually, who is the radio host of this show called Heartstrings. And it's like a call-in advice show all about romance, but he's kind of like fallen out of love with love. And then the female love interest is a mom, single parent. There's such a great, again, cast of side characters in here. It was such a heartwarming, good time. So I highly recommend that. I've been also working through BK Borison's Love Light Farms series, which are like very hallmarky romances, and there's one for each season. I read the Christmas one in December, and like it was fine. It was cute. I have liked the other two that I've read much better than the first one. So if you just want like a no thoughts, head empty, comforting, feel good time, I would recommend those.
Amazing. Okay, I have another indie author to promote. Okay, so Ashley Jade. Sometimes she goes by a pen name A Jade, and I don't know why, but Ashley Jade or A Jade. She wrote my favorite romance book of all time, The Words, which I won't go into. But another series that I absolutely loved. I don't know what the actual series is called, but I know the names of the books. It's called Fold and All. And I love this series. Also, the main female, I would describe as pansexual. I wouldn't say she at the beginning of the book, she self-identifies as a lesbian, but as the book goes on, or as the series goes on, you really find like she's in love with love, and she like loves like the soul of a person. And so the main two characters, there is so much angst between them. I wouldn't even call the first book dirty. And yet, like, they are so obsessed with each in just like that weird, like, on the verge of like being toxic way that can be so addicting if done well. Oh my God. I loved this series. And again, one of the very few indie series that I have read start to finish twice. It's awesome.
I mean, anytime you feel like you could read something twice, you know it's a
Yeah.
good sign.
That's like my like barometer of would you read it again? Would you pay to like have your memories wiped so you could read it again? Like with eyes? Oh my God. Love it.
That's how I decide what books to keep. Like when I finish reading something, if my thought is either I think I would want to read this again at some point, or I know I'm going to lend this out to everybody, then I'm either keeping the book or thinking about buying it. If no, it can be donated.
Yeah.
Okay, another feel-good rom-com recommendation is the Brown Sisters trilogy by Talia Hibbert. So these are companion romance novels, but they are all sisters. And there's just great representation in here for mental health and also chronic illness. So if you want a rom-com with a really relatable main character, and all three of them have their own things going on, I highly, highly recommend. I think my favorite book in the trilogy is the second one, which is, God, I don't remember. The first one is called Take a Hint, Chloe Brown, I think. Oh my God. Get a Life, Chloe Brown. Yeah. Get a Life, Chloe Brown. Take a Hint, Danny Brown is the second one. I think that's my favorite one, but it's just such a good time.
Such a good time. Okay, which one do I want to recommend next? I'm going to switch a little bit. This is not a romance. It has a romance element. I'm pretty sure everything I've ever read has a romance element. But okay, I'm going to recommend City of Bones by, help me out.
Cassandra Clare.
Thank you. Okay. This book,
I thought about putting Shadowhunters in general on here, so.
Shadowhunters. Oh my God. What a great time. People make fun of these books
They deserve to
And
be
they're
made fun of.
and and justly so. It is like not a this book has been out forever. So it's like there's a weird trope, and I am comfortable in saying that just like keep going. Okay.
Yeah.
Just keep going. It's a super weird trope. And even with that, it is so much fun. Like I would absolutely like when I've been rereading so many books this year, I think I'm gonna reread that book. Or the first at least trilogy. Again, it was like one of those things where it's like originally a trilogy, and then the author wrote a second trilogy. So essentially like the first series is 6 books total, and now she's written like a billion books within the same universe. And oh my God, like the dialogue is like so fun.
Yeah, the
It's
banter
just
is great.
the banter is top notch. I think like some of the best YA banter that exists, to be honest. It is just like such a great time. And also, if you if you don't like it and it's not for you, then move on. No problem. But if you do like it and it is for you, oh my God, you have like a year's worth of reading because there's so many books in this universe.
Yeah, I read one of the trilogies 2 years ago, and all of the trilogies have different names. I can't remember which one that is.
Yeah.
But the trilogy that starts with Lady Midnight,
Yeah.
I actually think that trilogy is the best of all of the Shadowhunters books.
Hey, and that's the one that I haven't read yet. So maybe I'll read that instead
You
of
can borrow it
rereading
from me. I have it.
Oh, do you have it? Because you lent me. What did you lend me?
The third one I got at the book sale.
Queen of Darkness.
Yeah.
And I haven't. The only reason I haven't read it is because it's like 1,000 pages. It is a brick of a
Yeah,
book.
her books are big. I mean, they
Her-
read fast because it's YA. So she
And-
also she's doing an adult fantasy series
Oh my
right
God,
now.
it's gonna be so good.
The first one's called Swordcatcher, and I think the second one just came out this year. I haven't read it yet, but I'm looking forward to it.
I'm going to. I'm not gonna read it until it's complete though,
Yeah,
because
I
I'll
know.
probably gonna shoot myself.
Oh,
But I bet
God,
she's
I
gonna
know.
do like her banter is so fantastic that like her romance is already good and it's YA. You
Mhm.
know, so I feel like by going adult, it's gonna be so fantastic.
Yeah. Okay, I have one more, which is actually 2 books, but it's the same series. This is just like a great freaking time. And this is cozy mystery. When the first book I read by this author, I was like, what the hell is this? This is so annoying. This is not a good mystery. Like, what is going on? So the first book is called Dial A for Aunties. When I read it, I had no idea what cozy mystery is. Cozy mystery is camp. It's not supposed to be serious. So if you don't like that, don't read it. That was my first one. And I was like, this is so ridiculous. I had only ever read like serious mystery thrillers before that. So I was like, what the fuck is going on here? But so the cozy mystery genre in general is like there's some kind of murder, right? It's like generally in like a small town. There's usually some kind of found family element to it. There's like a lot of hijinks and also just like hilarity going on. But like there's a murder that happened and they're like trying to solve the murder, right? And usually there's some kind of element of food or something in there as well. So if that doesn't sound like you will like it, then just stay away. It's not for you. And that's fine. So this is called Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers. I talked about this, I think, last year, maybe, because I found this book randomly at the book sale. I had like heard a couple of people talking about it. I did not expect to fall in love with these characters the way that I did. So the main character, her name is Vera Wong. She has a tea shop that she calls Vera Wang's world famous tea shop because she's trying to basically catfish people to coming into her shop thinking that she's the famous designer Vera Wang. And she's just like so funny. And she owns this tea shop and she's like, oh, I'm like a very elderly Chinese mother. She's in her 60s. She's not old, right? But she's like, oh, I am so frail. And so one day somebody turns up dead in her tea shop. Like she wakes up in the morning to do her like 4 a.m. walking routine and everything. And she wakes up and there's somebody is just lying dead in her tea shop. She's like, oh my gosh, I have to make this ready for the police. So she's like cleaning up all the glass and she like outlines the body in chalk. And then she calls the police. She's like, hi, somebody turned up dead in my shop. And they're like, when did this happen? She's like, oh, hours ago. I've been cleaning it up. And they're like, you mean to say you disturbed the evidence? She's like, no, I was just making sure that I got it ready for you. And so basically she thinks that the police aren't going to take it seriously. So this, 60-something Chinese mother is how she always describes herself. She's like, I'm going to take it upon myself to like solve this case. And it is just so funny and so heartwarming. And like, I would protect Vera with my whole body. It is so funny. And I just read the second book that came out in April, and it's called Vera Wong's Guide to Snooping on a Dead Man, I think.
Of course it's called that.
Yes, it is. It's, again, so funny. I will say that one definitely took on some darker themes. But aside from that part, which all of these have like a sense of justice in the end, like everything gets kind of wrapped up in a nice little bow. So everything's going to be fine in the end. But yeah, I've been having such a good time with those books. Like at this point, I will read anything that author writes. And I probably would go back and reread Dial A for Aunties now that I know what I'm going into. And I think I would like it a lot more.
Amazing. Okay. My next like cozy read in this area is the Brothers Hawthorne series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. The first one is The Inheritance Games. And again, it is just like such a good time. I read this.
Fly through it.
You fly through it. It's so fantastic. It's like YA. It's not fantasy. And it is a mystery element. Essentially, this, multi-billionaire dies and leaves his entire net worth to this random ass girl that no one has ever heard of. And so it's genuinely trying to figure out why her? What does she have to do with literally anything? She has never heard of this person. This family has never heard of her. And they like essentially took their birthright kind of thing. And they're pissed. It is such a good time. Again, the author, I think, originally wrote a trilogy and now it's just like has continued to write books. I want to say she's up to like 5 books. Is that right? I think it's like 5 now.
I think so, yeah.
I've
At
read
least.
the first 3. So the original trilogy I flew through over Christmas. And by the way, that was the perfect time to read these books. Like it was just so fun. I love every single character. The family, I don't want to say like they got screwed over because like they're fine. Like, but they have
they believe they got screwed over.
They believe they got screwed over. Their mom is a piece of work. She sucks. But the actual brothers, I think there's 3 of them. And you fall in love with every single one of them. Like,
4.
oh my, all 4 brothers?
Yeah.
4 brothers.
Grayson, Jameson, Nash, and Xavier? Xander.
What? They're all you love all of them for different reasons. And yeah, I still need to like the books 4 and I think 5. They've been on my list for forever, but yeah, it's one of those things where I would pretty much read anything in this like realm.
Doesn't she have an older series too?
I have no idea. I can Google it.
I think no, she definitely does because I saw it at the book sale this year. I think it's called The Naturals and it's like CSI, but
yeah,
teenagers who have powers, I think.
Interesting.
Yeah, I haven't read it, so I don't know. Wow. But yeah, that's everything I have.
That's pretty much everything I had. I got like one like more like honorable mention, but I think I've mentioned it before. The only one that I had left was A Rogue of One's, which is basically like if you love Bridgerton, I would definitely recommend this series. Okay, by Evie Dunmore. It's a collections of all companion novels, all set like around like women's suffrage in England. But A Rogue of One's Own is by far my favorite one. It's the second in the series. And I just like love it because again, like the feminist heroine, she's like this blonde little pixie tiny thing. And she's leading the women's suffrage movement. She's just like so awesome. So that's my honorable mention.
That sounds great. I feel like we need more of that energy in the world right now anyway. So there we go.
Yeah. So that's like while you're waiting for the next season of Bridgerton to come out, that's the book for you.
Oh, yeah. Will another one come out this year? When did season 2 come out?
Season 2, girl. No, season 3.
No, I mean, season 2 came out a while ago.
No, season 3 is already out.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Wait, no, am I making it up?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Season 3 is already out.
Okay, I haven't watched since season 1. Okay. Oh man. Okay, well, we hope you all enjoyed this episode. Please send us more recommendations for just like feel good, comforting reads because I feel like
Yeah.
we all need more of that in our lives.
We were talking before we hit record, and I stand by this, that the hardest good recommendation to find is for a rom-com. Because I need, like, some text, right? Like, I can't just, like, have it be, like, Sunshine and Daisies from page 1 where it's, like, so painfully predictable.
Mhm.
Like, that's why, like, I like the X Talk so much. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, it's such a fine line because you do want it to be feel good. Like, you want the happy ending, but yet, like, you can't have it be happy ending page 1.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Actually, I think I might have a good recommendation for you for that, but the listeners will have to wait until the end of the year episode, but
Okay.
I'll tell
Well,
you
then
when
you
we
can
finish
you
recording.
can, like, tell me.
Okay, so if you want to take a look at anything that we recommended today, just click in the show notes below and all of it will be listed there. And we'll see you guys in whatever, December or January for our end of the year recommendations. And wow, that's terrifying to say.
So terrifying. Like, mentally, I'm still in January.
I think we all are. All right, bye guys.
Bye.